closely at the ground, right beneath the penalty spot. That isn't accidental wear and tear from a hard 90 minutes of football. That is a deliberate, calculated act of sabotage. We are in the boiling, suffocating closing stages of a brutal World Cup round of 16 knockout match in Philadelphia. The emotional tension inside the stadium is thick enough to cut with a knife. Kylian Mbappé steps forward. He is carrying the weight, the expectations, and the entire tournament destiny of a nation on his shoulders. He is preparing to take a penalty kick that will define France's entire World Cup journey. But right before he can even place the ball on the chalk, his opponents do something completely unthinkable. Paraguayan defenders swarm the penalty area. They ignore the referee, push the French midfielders out of the way, and begin aggressively digging their iron studs into the grass. They are ripping up the turf with real venom, trying to turn a pristine penalty box into a mental trap. They want the ball to bobble. They want Mbappe to slip. They want to completely break his composure. Most casual fans watching the broadcast at home saw a standard, clean 1-0 victory for France. They saw the favourites advance, close their streaming apps, and check the box score. But if you look closer, if you really look past the flashy television replays and read the game, you realise France didn't win a normal football match. They survived a dark, psychological war zone. This was a match where sportsmanship was completely thrown out the window, replaced by tactical intimidation, backroom gamesmanship, and a referee who completely lost his grip on reality. This is the complete, untold story of how an untamed, fearless underdog almost broke the minds of the world's most expensive squad. And more importantly, it's a deep dive into the exact split-second tactical decision that saved Didier Deschamps and his team from total, historic humiliation. Welcome back to The Fixture, where we look past the scoreboard to help you truly read the game. To understand exactly how this match descended into absolute chaos, we have to look back at the week leading up to kickoff. Nobody outside of Asuncion expected Paraguay to even set foot in the knockout rounds. On paper, this round of 16 fixture looked like absolute slaughter. France entered the match in terrifying, relentless form. They had just spent the group stage systematically dismantling opposition defences with an elite front line consisting of Kylian Mbappé, Ousmane Dembele, and the electric Michael Olise. They were registering an astronomical expected goals rating, playing a beautiful, fluid brand of attacking football that felt completely unstoppable. But Paraguay possessed something much more dangerous than flashy statistics. They had complete tactical fearlessness and a massive psychological chip on their shoulder. Just days prior, they had pulled off the ultimate miracle of the tournament by knocking out Germany in a brutal penalty shootout. The entire country was celebrating. The Paraguayan president had even declared a national holiday. They had absolute zero pressure, nothing left to lose, and a manager in Gustavo Alfaro who understood a vital, harsh truth about international football. Alfaro knew that if you tried to play a beautiful, open, expansive game against a team backed by Aurélien Tchouaméni and Eduardo Camavinga, you are signing your own death warrant. You will get picked apart in transition, caught out wide, and embarrassed on global television. So, Alfaro didn't set up a football formation to win. He built a cage designed to make his opponents suffer. Look closely at this tactical blueprint. Paraguay rolled out a rigid, ultra-deep 5-back system that quickly morphed into a suffocating 5-4-1 low block under defensive pressure. They completely surrendered the wide spaces on the wings. They didn't care if France kept possession at the back. What they cared about was entirely closing down the central highway of the pitch. Every single time Michael Olise tried to turn between the lines, or Dembele looked up to find an incisive passing lane into the box, they were met by a suffocating wall of 4 red and white jerseys. The space was so congested that France looked completely claustrophobic. In the entire first 45 minutes, the tournament favourites were reduced to an abysmal, shocking expected goals rating of just 0.15. The French attack wasn't just quiet, it was entirely paralysed. But positioning was only half of the masterclass. The real trap lay in the deployment of what South American football experts call football criollo, the dark, unspoken arts of psychological destruction. As the clock ticked into the second half and the intense, sweltering Philadelphia heat began to drain the players' physical reserves, the beautiful game completely vanished. It didn't just get physical, it got downright ugly. Paraguay understood a fundamental rule of elite refereeing. Modern officials are trained to follow the trajectory of the ball, not the minor altercations happening 20 yards away from it. And that exact blind spot is where Paraguay decided to win the match. It began with the small things. Constant, repetitive stepping on toes during corner kicks. Aggressive, hidden shirt tugs every time the broadcast cameras panned away. Small, annoying shoves into the backs of the French players after the whistle had already blown. It was a relentless, calculated barrage of psychological irritation designed to do one thing: provoke a red card and make France lose their collective focus. The irritation completely boiled over in the midfield when Andrés Cubas flew in with a reckless, sliding challenge that completely wiped out Mbappe. It wasn't just a foul, it was a clear statement of intent. The challenge triggered an immediate, aggressive team brawl right in the centre circle, with players from both benches rushing out, shoving, shouting, and squaring up eyeball to eyeball. France was falling directly into the trap. They were getting distracted, emotional, and completely rattled. But the peak of the hostility came minutes later. Away from the play, Paraguayan midfielder Matías Galarza delivered a brutal, blatant right elbow straight into the chest and face of Jules Koundé and Mbappe. The French captain went down crashing to the turf, gasping for oxygen, while the entire French bench exploded in absolute fury. And where on earth was the referee? Completely and utterly out of his depth. Uzbek official Ilgiz Tantashev completely lost control of the match's emotional temperature. In one of the most bizarre, controversial refereeing displays in modern knockout history, Tantashev refused to book a single Paraguayan player. Paraguay committed over 18 highly physical, cynical fouls throughout the match, yet walked away with 0 yellow cards. Meanwhile, in a twist of absolute irony, the referee began handing out yellow cards to the French players simply for protesting the violence. Rayan Cherki and the rest of the squad couldn't believe it. The favourites were completely unravelling, arguing with linesmen, losing their tempers, and discarding their tactical plan. Paraguay's trap was working perfectly. By the 60th minute, the situation looks incredibly grim for the French national team. Their passing rhythm was completely gone, their star players looked visibly exhausted, and the psychological weight of an impending, historic upset was paralysing their decision-making. On the sidelines, manager Didier Deschamps stood stone cold, realising a critical, painful truth. His team of multi-million-dollar superstars could not win this match wearing tuxedos. If they wanted to survive the night, they had to drop down into the trenches and get their hands dirty. Deschamps made a high-stakes executive gamble. He looked past his veteran options and called up 21-year-old starlet Desiré Doué. It was a substitution that raised eyebrows across the stadium, but tactically,
it was pure genius. You see, players like Mbappe and Dembele were looking for structure. They wanted to play combination passes, look for overlapping runs, and exploit spaces that Paraguay had completely erased. Doué didn't care about structure. He didn't care about the intimidation, the referee's bias, or the history of the opposition. He brought raw, unhinged, chaotic directness to the left flank. Instead of passing backward or trying to look for a clever midfield switch, the young winger did the one thing Paraguay dreaded most. He took the ball and ran straight down their throats. His fresh legs and explosive change of direction completely disrupted the timing of a Paraguayan backline that had spent an hour comfortably shifting from side to side. Then came the 64th minute, the exact tipping point of the entire narrative. Doué picked up the ball deep on the left wing, drove aggressively past his first marker, and exploded directly into the 18-yard box. Caught completely out of position, Paraguayan defender Diego Gomez made a desperate, lunging, knee-to-knee tackle, sending Doué flying through the air. The stadium held its breath. Shockingly, the referee on the pitch waved it off initially, signalling for play to continue as the fans erupted in a chorus of deafening boos. Paraguay launched an immediate counter-attack, looking to score the winner while France was caught out of position. But the French defence held strong, forcing the ball out of play. And then, a saving grace, the VAR room called. Tantashev was forced to walk over to the pitchside monitor, look at the slow-motion footage, and reverse his decision. Penalty to France. Which brings us right back to the definitive viral moment at the ruined penalty spot. Paraguay had spent over an hour hacking, scratching, kicking, and using every psychological weapon in their arsenal to shatter France's composure. They had successfully rattled the coach, turned the referee against the favourites, and now they were literally destroying the physical pitch beneath Kylian Mbappe's boots. Defenders like Matías Galarza and Gustavo Velasquez snuck up behind the referee's back to violently stomp on the grass, trying to ensure that when Mbappe planted his foot, he would lose his balance. It was a masterclass in hostile gamesmanship, but elite, generational athletes do not operate on the same emotional frequency as ordinary players. As the Paraguayan squad shouted, waved their arms, and tried to delay the kick, Mbappe stood completely frozen, staring blankly ahead with absolute ice in his veins. He completely blocked out the noise of the crowd, ignored the scuffed, ruined turf, and stepped up to the ball. With one confident, powerful strike, he sent goalkeeper Orlando Gil flying completely the wrong way, smashing the ball into the back of the net. 1-0 to France. Paraguay's beautiful, chaotic dream was shattered in an instant. They fought heroically until the absolute final whistle, backed by a world-class performance from Orlando Gil, who pulled off 3 spectacular acrobatic saves in stoppage time to prevent a complete blowout. But the lesson of the evening had already been written in stone. France proved to the rest of the world that they aren't just a group of soft, flashy millionaires who only win when things are beautiful. When you drag them into a street fight,
they can strike back even harder. But their absolute biggest, most terrifying test lies immediately ahead. In the quarterfinals, they face Morocco, a team that possesses a world-class defensive shape and an audience that knows exactly how to make tournament favourites completely lose their minds. Can France carry this newfound grit into the next round? Or will the Atlas Lions pull off the ultimate tactical masterstroke? If you want to truly understand tactical breakdowns like this before the matches even kick off, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Don't just rely on sports apps to check the final scoreline. Help us help you truly read the game. Drop your score predictions for France versus Morocco in the comments below. Let's see who really understands the tactics, and we will see you at the very next fixture.